Good evening, my dear students. So we all are switching a lot from good morning to good afternoon to good evening. And amidst all that, we have already completed the first chapter, that is periodic classification of elements. And I'm sure you all have got adjusted to this new quarantine, right? And I'm assuming that you've already completed with the test of periodic classification of elements. And I hope that it was an easy one, as it did not contain any chemical reactions and you would have practiced it well. Okay, very good. I'll be happy that if you're scoring good marks in that. Anyways, but if the question arises that aren't we going to study any reactions in chemistry? To this, the answer is definitely going to be a no, because there is no chemistry without reactions. But one more thing, whenever you're studying a chapter, whenever I'm starting a new chapter, the first thing which should come in your mind, the reason for studying this chapter. So first we'll understand what is the reason behind studying this chapter, then I'll go into the details with this chapter. Okay, my dear students. So I hope everyone is all sitting upright with your notebook, with your pencils and pens, because we're gonna write a little things today. So let me just quickly start by sharing my screen. Okay, so I'm assuming that all my dear students are able to see my screen here. Just a minute. Okay, so let us start. So students, as you can see on the screen, I have showed you a picture of fermentation of grapes. That means there's a kind of change happening here. Grapes being converted into a glass of juice, or let me tell you, preferably wine, right? So is there any change happening when fermentation of grapes takes place? Right? There is a change which is happening here. Similarly, the next slide which I'm going to show you here is that milk, when kept outside during summers at room temperature, sets into curd or it gets spoiled. I'm sure everybody has seen that, right? So when milk is left at room temperature during summers, it either gets spoiled, or if we just add curd, it will set into curd. That means in my daily life, I am able to see this kind of change happening, isn't it? Yes or no? Can you see this change? Instead of sleeping, why don't you sit and see the lecture? It'll be more fun. Okay. So when milk is left outside, it gets spoiled. So one more change which I observe in my daily life. Apart from that, if you have seen iron nails, these iron nails, if when exposed to humid atmosphere, gets rusted, right? If they have not used for a long time, and if they have kept in humid atmosphere, they get rusted, or there is a brown deposition on the silvery shiny iron nails. Again, there is a change happening here. What are all these changes? Just see a few more examples. Cooking food. When you get the substance, there's a raw vegetable, and then you cook. Obviously, there is a change. There's a change in taste, flavor, and so many things. So cooking food is a very common example which we come across almost every day, isn't it? Apart from that, let me give you one more example. That is respiration. So the question is respiration a change? Yes, definitely. Respiration is also a change in life. Does any of these changes take place in all these processes? In our lower standard, we have already studied two types of changes, isn't it? We studied two types of changes in which one change was temporary change and the other change was permanent change. This is what layman's language, right? But in chemistry, we had assigned a proper word to it. Temporary changes are known as, any idea? Do you remember? What are temporary changes and permanent changes? Temporary changes are physical changes and permanent changes are chemical changes. So all these examples which we were discussing right now, these changes were permanent. These changes were permanent. Permanent means I am not able to get back my original substance. In all these cases, the natural identity of the original substances are changed. The natural identity of the original substances are changed. That will change. What it is called as? Come on, repeat everyone. What is this change called as? Chemical change. Is my voice lagging a little bit? Am I clear to everyone now? Can you just hear me now? Is it all proper? Just don't worry. For a few minutes, the intro was giving me a little bit trouble. Now I hope all is good. My dear students? Okay. Okay, don't worry. Keep on repeating my statement. So do not worry. Yes, I got it. Thank you so much for your reward. So please now let us concentrate on chemical change. So what are we studying, everyone? Quickly, what are we studying? We are studying chemical change. And these chemical changes are happening around us almost every day. These chemical changes are happening around us almost every day. When a chemical change occurs, when a chemical change occurs, a chemical reaction takes place. Whenever a chemical change occurs, a chemical reaction takes place. So students, we are going to study about chemical changes in detail in the chapter known as chemical reactions and equations. What is the name of the chapter? Chemical reactions and equations. I'm just hoping that all my students are able to hear me clearly right now. Yes, so that I'll move ahead with the chapter. Okay. So let us start with the chapter named as Chemical Reactions and Equations. Once again, I want everyone to repeat the name of the chapter. Come on, quickly. Chemical Reactions and Equations. In this chapter, students, the most important part which I want everyone to learn by heart, which the students have already done, those who were there with me for 9th standard, I've already made you by heart the valency chart. It's the only difference is that in this case, the valency chart I've just modified a bit where I have clubbed together the valencies of 1 and valencies of 2. Otherwise, it's the same chart which was given to you in your 9th standard, page number 56. I hope you all remember page number 56 because I made sure that every day before the class, I have a revision of this valency chart, right? That was the table in your 9th standard textbook, which I assume you've retained with yourself. In the 9th standard textbook, on page number 56, there is a tabular column made ions and radicals and their variable valencies, which is coming in front of you. This valency chart, I want everyone to either take a screenshot, write it later, but make a chart of it in your home. Keep it anywhere where you're going to see it every day, or in your notebook, you want to write it down. Because once you are able to by heart the valency chart, let me tell you, this chapter is going to be a cakewalk for you. It's going to be the most simplest chapter, even though it contains a lot of chemical reactions. From the beginning, I've been telling for all the students who always attended my lectures that you cannot go ahead until and unless you know the valency chart perfect. And many of my students have already by hearted it. For those who have not done, please students do it because it is very important. This will help you answer the questions. This will help you make the chemical reactions simple. So just I'll repeat all the words which is given here. We have hydroxide, fluoride, chloride, bromide, bicarbonate, nitrate, ammonium, silver, hydrogen, potassium, sodium. If you're seeing, I've just separated the valencies one because hydroxide, fluorides all are negatively charged. Ammonium, silver, hydrogen are positively charged. Positively charged ions are called as basic radicals. Negatively charged are called as acidic radicals. Similarly, on the other side where I'm having the valencies 2, I have clubbed them in such a way that I have tried to put on the most repetitive ones and the most important ones which are frequently coming in the chemical equations. So this chart I have made in such a way, these are the most repetitive and most commonly used questions. But do not worry, these are the same which are one given in the textbook on page number 56. Once we all know the valency chart perfect, we are able to do any equation given to us. So let us understand how are we going to do the chemical equations. Do not worry. Let us start. I think everybody can hear me now. So let us move ahead with this chapter. And once you said, please students, it's a request. See, as we are not meeting now, you can be true to yourself and you can make the valency chart in your notebook or anywhere in your, we are not going to come there and ask you, right? So you have to do it on your own. And I'm sure all my dear students are going to do that. Let's make the best time out of it, best use of it. Yes, you can do that. Okay, so let us quickly see what is coming in. This experiment we've been quite a long experiment, which is the most basic one, which I always teach when we are doing chemical reactions. Here, there is a magnesium ribbon, which is being burned in the presence of oxygen. When it is heated, when the magnesium ribbon is burnt in the presence of oxygen, I am going to get a white colored
Ma'am, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me, sir, now?
Ma'am, I can hear you, but it's lagging.
Hello?
हाँ मैम बोलिए ना.
Sir, can you hear me now? Oh, I think
हाँ
there's
मैम
some issues with the
थोड़ा
internet.
क्रैक हो रहा है.
थोड़ा internet issue है. So I'll just
हाँ.
start sharing my screen again. Okay? Okay, students, I hope I am audible, very much clear to you now. So I'll quickly start sharing the screen again. Yes?
Yes ma'am. Yes ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay. So I'll just do a small recap of what we were discussing so that I hope that students have not missed what we were doing. Don't worry, I will repeat what we've missed. Let me repeat it from the beginning. That is the name of the chapter, Chemical Reactions and Equations, where we are going to study about the reactions, why is it important, and what are the reactions that happens in our daily life. So the first and the most simple equation, which we keep on repeating, is that of the magnesium ribbon. So here I can see a magnesium ribbon, which is being burnt in the presence of oxygen. When magnesium ribbon is heated or burnt in the presence of oxygen, you can see the product. You can see a white colored substance, which is called as magnesium oxide, So when magnesium combines with oxygen in the presence of heat, I get a white colored powder, which is called as magnesium oxide. If you observe here, while writing the equation, I made use of simple names. This simple form of representation of writing a chemical reaction in words is known as word equation. The simple form of representation of a chemical reaction in words is known as word equation. This is the first definition of this chapter, students. What do you mean by word equation? Come on, repeat everyone. The simple form of representation of a chemical reaction in words is known as word equation. But students, you might be thinking that this is so easy to write. But we can't go ahead with this every time. There might be equations which are lengthy. So I can't make use of only words for writing the equation. So rather, I can make use of symbols and formulae to make the equation easier. So this representation where I'm making use of symbol. For magnesium, I am writing Mg. For oxygen, come on, think and tell me what should I write for oxygen. Think and tell me what should come in place of oxygen. Am I going to write only O or am I going to write O2? That is the error where you go wrong. It should be O2. See, many of you just writing O. It should not happen that way. It should be O2. And the reason why it is O2, these are the small errors, small tips which I'm going to give you to remember what is happening in the reactions. See, students, there are the atomicity of atoms, which is going to tell me which are monoatomic and diatomic. It's not about the valency. It's about being monoatomic in nature and it's about being diatomic in nature. The ones which are monoatomic, like the inert gases, the metals, they are going to be written as only the name, that is Mg. But the gases like oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, these gases has to be written in the form of diatomic. So instead of writing single O for oxygen, I'm going to write O2. I hope everyone has made a note of this, that whenever we have gases, while writing the reaction, it will be written in their diatomic form, which is O2. So Mg plus O2. Come on, tell me and think what is the product. Let me see how many of you know this. Think, what will be magnesium with oxygen? You know magnesium oxide, but what is the formula of magnesium oxide? Now the most important question comes here. Okay, few are correct and few are here and there. Okay, so I think many of you have given me the answer. So you check for yourself whether you're getting the same answer which I've given you. Because few of them who have not taken valency into consideration will give me the answer as MgO2, because that is what you're seeing on the left hand side. But is that so? Is that so? No. Because in our lower standards, we have already studied that whenever we are making the product, we always crisscross the valency. We always crisscross the valency. From the valency chart, which I had already given you, I know that magnesium has valency 2. Oxygen also has valency 2. As both the valencies are 2, I do cancel the two values and I get what? MgO. Can we write it as Mg2O2? Can I write it as Mg2O2? No. As both the numbers are same, I'm going to cancel both the two and it will be 1, 1. So I get the answer as MgO. So what is my answer here, students? It is MgO. For those of you who were able to answer it correctly, very good students, you're going on the correct line to solve a chemical equation. And for those students who did small error, do not worry. We have just started to understand. So you don't fear about chemical reactions. The first thing which stops you to understand chemistry is the fear of the equations. Let us just get rid of this fear and try to understand the subject. So this representation, this simple form of representation of writing the reaction with the help of symbols and chemical formulae. Now this equation I'd written with the help of a chemical formulae, or sometimes it can be only symbol. So it is called as chemical equation. What it is called as? Chemical equation. And I want everyone, those who are simply wasting their time in switching on the video and switching off the video, just to check for themselves how they're looking on the screen. Why don't we utilize this time and read the equation here? Yes, thank you so much. So what is the equation? Representation of chemical reaction with the help of chemical formulae is known as chemical equation. Thank you so much who all were reading with me, and I'll give you 30 seconds time to quickly mention these two definitions in your notebook. And if you're thinking, ma'am, 30 seconds, I think you can finish faster than that. So once again, I'm repeating till then those who have already finished, for them I'm repeating. The simple form of representation of reaction in words is known as word equation, and the representation of chemical reaction with the help of chemical formulae is a chemical equation. And all those students who are really active and listening to a teacher, thank you so much for completing it on time. So let me try. Will you be able to answer this question if I don't show you this slide? Will you be able to answer the question? Let me see. So what is the word equation? I know I can't hear you, but at least you can give it a try. The representation of a chemical reaction with the help of words is known as word equation, and representation of the chemical reaction with the help of symbols and formulae is known as chemical equation. Thank you so much. Now the important step, even though you have been started to write the equation from 8th standard, but still there are a lot of times where you go wrong, where there are small errors you come across. So to just get rid of this error, we are doing a question which is called as steps involved in writing a chemical equation. You might be feeling, ma'am, we already know this. We have been writing this since such a long time. But there are certain things which you might miss out. And this is an important question from examination point of view. A 2-mark question is usually asked for steps involved in writing a chemical equation. So let us see. Let me take the example of the previous one which we were using. That is reactants. That is my magnesium and oxygen. Magnesium and oxygen are the substances which reacted together in an equation. So they are termed as reactants. What are they termed as? Reactants. Come on, repeat everyone. What are they termed as? Reactants. When magnesium and oxygen combine together, we get something which is called as the products. What are we calling? Products. So when magnesium and oxygen combine together, we get the answer as magnesium oxide. And in chemistry, we're going to term this magnesium oxide as products. And these reactants are always written on the left hand side, and products are always written on the right hand side. LHS means left hand side, RHS means right hand side. Don't feel that इतना simple है, मुझको आता है. But I'm sure sometimes you might be feeling, ये LHS भी कोई chemistry word है. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. LHS is a simple word for left hand side. RHS is for right hand side. So what is the first step which we are going to take into consideration when I'm writing a chemical equation? It is that reactants are written on the left hand side. Products are written on the right hand side. Very well. Let us see what do we see next. The reactants and the products. The reactants and the products. What do we put in between? Come on, think. What is always there in between the reactants and products? Do you know the answer? Oh, very good. Equals to. It is not algebra or geometry that you're going to put equal to sign. It's an arrow. It's an arrow. Very good. Reactants and products are separated by an arrow. A lot of students are answering this question. Very good, students. So the second point or the second step which we are going to take into consideration is that reactants and products are separated by an arrow. So we all know now the second step. Let's move on to the third step. Whenever there are 2 or more reactants or 2 or more products. Like for example, in this question, I have 2 reactants, but only 1 product. But there might be certain equations where you're going to have 2 or more reactants or you're going to have 2 or more products. Now, what do you put in between them? How are they separated? Oh, very good. So the answer here is plus sign. Very good, students. So whenever we have 2 or more reactants or products, they are separated by a plus sign. For all those who are able to answer, I think you're going on a very right track to understand the equations. Okay, so 2 or more reactants and products are separated by a plus sign. Let's move on to the third step. Why don't we start answering questions, Aditya Bhargava? The fourth step is conditions. Any conditions which are required to carry on the reaction. Like, can you think and tell me what was the condition was required to carry on this reaction? What was the condition? What did we needed to let the magnesium combine with oxygen? Or is it just that in air you will move around the magnesium ribbon and think you'll get the answer? No. What is the answer here? Heat. Yes, very good. Burning. It was the heat. So this condition was required to carry on the reaction. So this condition will be mentioned on the arrow. The conditions will be mentioned on the arrow. As you can see here, you can either write heat or you can draw a triangle. Any which way is okay for you. Either write heat or triangle. Don't confuse this triangle with a delta. This symbol in chemistry, which is a triangle, is indicated for heat. See, I knew you were going to tell me delta. Delta is not in chemistry. In chemistry, we are going to write a triangle is indicating heat. Above, usually it is preferred to write it above, but sometimes the conditions keep on increasing. So you can write it above also or below also. If there are more conditions, like for example, sometimes it is heat, sometimes it is certain catalyst taking part in the reaction, or sometimes it can be certain atmospheric pressure or substances. So if there are more than 2 or 3 conditions which are not able to fit on the arrow, you can put it on the top and below as well. But if there is only one condition, like in this case, I am having heat, I am going to write above the arrow and not below. That is how it is preferred. Nobody is going to give you wrong, do not worry, but that is how we are going to prefer it. So the fourth step which is involved in writing a chemical equation is the conditions whatever are required to carry on the reaction should be mentioned on the arrow. Yes, very well, students. Next point. Dash of the reactants and products are mentioned to make the reaction more informative. Can you think and tell me what am I missing in this equation? Because according to what you've studied, we've already completed everything, right? What are we missing here? Symbols. Symbols of what? Valency. Valency is already done. States of matter. Very good. I've got this answer. It's the states of matter. Physical states of the reactants and products are mentioned to make the reaction more informative. For someone who is thinking, ma'am, nahi samajh raha hai. For them, what is the physical state of magnesium? Tell me, what was the state of magnesium? What is the state? It was in solid state. Very good. So we are going to indicate a small s. We're going to indicate a small s at the base of Mg, which is going to tell me that it is solid. Now, oxygen is a gas. So I'm going to write small g. And what was the final product we got into which state? The final product, which is my magnesium oxide, I got it in which state? It was solid. Very good. So the physical states, as you can see on the screen, I have just shown you in this purple color at the base of these symbols and formulae. Below Mg, I have written small s. Below O2, I have written small g. And below MgO, I have mentioned small s. So the fifth and an important step in writing a chemical equation is physical state of the reactants and products are mentioned to make the reaction more informative. And for those students who are able to give me more physical states, very good, you know all these steps. For those who do not know, like for example, when I have solid, I'm going to write small s. Similarly, when I'm going to have liquid, I'm going to write small l. When I'm going to have gas, I'm going to write small g. Apart from that, we also see, apart from that, we also have a state which is called as aqueous. I'm sure everybody has heard the word aqueous, or in bracket, sometimes it is written as AQ. It is AQ. Aqueous is the state which is obtained by either mixing a solid in liquid or a liquid in liquid. It is not a single pure substance. It is either a mixture of a solid dissolved in liquid and then used for the reaction, or two liquids mixed together and then used for the reaction. So such physical states will be called as aqueous. And sometimes when you see upward arrow, and sometimes if you see an upward arrow, what is that indicating? Sometimes beside a substance you see an upward arrow. That is for the gas being liberated. Very good. That is for the gas being liberated. Now you might be feeling, ma'am, gas ke liye to already ek symbol hai, which is G. Then why do I need an upward arrow? Why do I need? Both are same, isn't it? So what is this slight thin line difference which is happening here? The difference is in the reactant, when I'm going to use a gas, I'm going to write small g, because this gas I am using to carry on the reaction. That is, I'm using to carry on the reaction. But in the product, when I am getting a gas, I put an upward arrow because that is the gas which is liberated. That is the gas which is liberated. Okay, everyone got this? So we have studied about solid, liquid, gas, upward arrow, aqueous, and one more thing which is down arrow. Yes, Soham, very good. It is a downward arrow which is meaning the precipitate. The meaning of the downward arrow is the precipitate. The precipitate means a solid substance which is formed in the reaction which does not get soluble and settles at the bottom of the test tube. So that is the precipitate. See here, few physical states we have come across in this reaction, but there are more which when I'm going other reactions, you'll come across every physical state we are talking about. So you need not worry if you're not able to understand right now, but try to concentrate what are we doing here. So today we are learning an important answer of this chapter, which is steps involved in writing a chemical equation. Now I want everyone to just concentrate on the screen and repeat after me. The first point, what's the first point? Reactants are written on the left hand side and products are written on the right hand side. Once again, everyone, come on, repeat. Don't worry, I'm just simply repeating. If you're not able to hear me, you try to repeat after me. Reactants are written on the left hand side, products are written on the right hand side. Reactants and products are separated by an arrow. Reactants and products are separated by an arrow. Two or more reactants or two or more products are separated by a plus sign. Don't get confused here. Between reactants and products, I'm going to put an arrow, but between reactants, in between the reactants and products, I'm going to put a plus sign. And if there are certain conditions required to carry on the reaction, it will be mentioned on the arrow. And to make the reaction more informative, I am going to write the physical states of the reactants and products. I hope everybody has understood this answer, and I'm sure you all having the textbook with you. It is just the side points which I have given you to remember this answer. You don't have to write in this simple language. The answer has to be very much perfect, which you can read from the textbook or from the material which is being provided to you for studying. Okay, my dear students. So one question which we have done here is steps involved in writing a chemical equation. But I am not done yet. What is still one more thing which is missing, which we haven't done? If you're not able to understand any points, as and when we are doing the equations, it will get very clear to you. Okay. So tell me one thing, that what is one more thing which we have missed while writing the reaction? Very nice, Samia. It is balancing chemical equations. Very good. We have not done balancing of chemical equations. In this equation, and why do we need balancing? Whose law has we studied in the previous standard, who has told us that the total mass of the reactants should always be equal to total mass of the products? I hope you remember. Last year, we studied some law. What was that law? Yes. Aha, I've got a perfect answer. They are very good. It is Antoine Lavoisier. Antoine Lavoisier, we have studied laws of chemical combination. We've studied laws of chemical combination, in which we studied law of conservation of matter. And law of conservation of matter was given by Antoine Lavoisier, who made one statement after carrying out various experiments, that the total number of atoms in the reactants should always be equal to total number of atoms in the products. In my equation, it is not happening. So what do I need to do? I need to do balancing the chemical reaction. And this is picture coming up here. You don't have to do it this way. And how we're going to do balancing, that I'm not going to start now. I'm going to do it for my next class. For today, I hope you all have understood how are we going to move ahead with the chapter. For next lecture, make sure you are all having your books in hand and you have learned the valency chart very well. One thing which have been repeatedly asked to me was the fourth point in the previous slide. So let me just repeat the fourth point. The one who is asking me for the fourth point, dear, listen, it is just the condition which I need to write. For example, in this reaction, magnesium will combine with oxygen only on heating. So this heating is an important thing which is going to be required for the reaction to get converted into the product. So that condition I'm going to mention on the arrow. I hope I am clear. I hope your doubt is clear right now. Okay. So whatever conditions, yeah, this was the basics of last year. You can just feel that it was a repetitive lecture just to get things clear. Above the arrow means on the arrow which is pointing from reactants to products. The arrow which is pointing from reactants to products, the blue color arrow which you can see, above that I have written the condition. Okay. Upward arrow is for the gas which is being liberated, and downward arrow is for the one which is forming a precipitate. Upward arrow is for the gas which is liberated, and downward arrow is for the precipitate. Okay. The homework. Thank you so much, Lovely, for asking me this question. What is the homework? The homework for today's class is you're gonna by heart the valency chart perfectly and this 2-mark question, which I think you've already done, isn't it? This question is already so simple to answer, but valency chart, make sure till next week you're all through it so that when we are doing equations, you are able to answer all the questions. So the chapter becomes easy, isn't it? Okay. I hope you all understood today's class and you enjoyed today's lecture and you'll be waiting for next week. Thank you so much. Whatever definitions and equations which you missed, do not worry. It is there in the textbook, or you can even see the studying material provided to you.
Are we done, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I'm done. Thank you so much, students, for attending the class, and I have done. We can leave the meeting now.